How's it going? Wooden Spoon Supercoach here. Just me today. Mac is off sick today. Hope you're feeling better soon, lad. And to be honest, after all the preparation I've done for the Origin period, the teams lists for Origin have me feeling sick as well. All my preparation's gone out the window. I've barely scraped together 13 players for this week. At least I was able to do it. But yeah, it goes to show there's only so much planning you can do. You do have to be reactive to this time of the year. Not the end of the world. A quick reminder, prize pool is up to $892. Don't forget to leave your bets in the comments for Magic Round, and I'll put those up on the weekend. Any winning bets get added to the prize pool. Shots has taken over the leaderboard this week. He's contributed 33.59. I'm sure Project Spartan will have something to say about that in the comments. But yeah, let's head over to the teams list. There's not too much to cover today. For the Raiders, Dane Laurie's been named at 5'8", and Adam Mariota starts in the back row with Ethan Strange and Hudson Young in Blues camp. The shoulder injury to Simi Sasungi sees Zach Hosking named in number 12 to make his return from concussion. Jordan Utah is set to make his NRL debut from the bench. Xavier Savage makes an early return from syndesmosis injury he suffered in round 5, so Jed Stewart slides into the bench. Playmaker Kobe Black is part of the extended squad, blah, 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 blah. So I would say the most notable information there is Zach Hosking getting the start. He's been a very good Supercoach asset in the past, and I don't mind bringing him in at all. However, I do prefer bringing in Tarpany, with some of the Origin players potentially backing up in future rounds. Zach Hosking is likely to be the one that slides to the bench or maybe out of the side completely. So if you are looking for a forward trade from the Raiders and you have the flexibility to do it in front row forward or 2RF with the duels, I would be going for Tarpany. I've done it myself. He's been in my plans for a long time, and I think he's going to serve us very well. He's a very consistent 60 to 70 a week. But say, for instance, you need a second row forward, then Zach Hosking is an absolutely fine option. I don't mind that at all. This week in particular, we have very slim pickings for center wings. Just sticking with the Raiders here for the moment. Savelio Tamale, he's been a little bit hot and cold lately. He dropped himself out of the team because he was low on confidence, which I respect massively to make that decision. And the Raiders do have some really nice coverage. So provided he does keep his spot in the team, I quite like the Tamale pick as well going forward. Xavier Savage actually might be an even better option with his X factor, no pun intended, and being back from that syndesmosis injury early. He probably is the pick out of the two now that I'm thinking about it. Savage is much more rocks or diamonds when it comes to his Supercoach output. So if you're after like a safe guy just to get you through the period, Tamale's probably the go out of the two. But neither of these guys are going to be season keepers. So if you are trading them in, make sure that you have the trades to get them back out towards the end of the Origin period. Because, yeah, I don't see them being much of a hold afterwards. There's an argument to be made that Corey Horsburgh could be an option as well, but again, I just don't love it with Tarpany being there, particularly because after the Origin period, his role in the team is going to stay the same, and you could keep him as backup as opposed to needing to trade him out. And with how many trades I've spent this year so far, I will probably look at doing that. I'm looking to hold as many of my Origin guns as I can, just to save trades going into the back end. I've had to use 4 this week. It's disgusting. For the Dolphins, Trey Fuller takes over at fullback, and Tavita Nafahu comes in on the wing with Hammer and Cobbo in camp for the Maroons. Cody Nikarima is replaced at 5'8" with Bradley Schneider. A new look front row features Francis Molo and JMK filling in for Maroons reps Thomas Flegler and Max Plath. That was a mouthful. I was really high on the idea of getting Trey Fuller in for a while coming into Origin, but I've definitely cooled off on it. Having a look at the Origin availability, I'll pull that up. If we have a look at the Dolphins, they do have really, really good cover. So as long as you're able to scrape together a team for round 13 when he doesn't play, then I love it. But again, as soon as Hammer or whoever backs up or after the Origin period ends, he will either fall to the bench or out of the team and not become an option anymore. So I don't love it. Him missing round 13 really does hurt. That's one of the more difficult rounds considering you need a full squad instead of just the top 13 this week. So look, there's definitely some teams that he will be perfect for, and if you're one of them, then by all means get him. Just be prepared for him to maybe miss games if Hammer does back up. Herbie Farnworth has been ruled out of this game. It was because of just tightness or something, which is annoying and vague. So could be a hamstring injury or something, and they're just not really giving us the information. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But yeah, just take note of that. I'm sure there's many coaches who are banking on him as a number this week. Luckily, I have Asako in my team as well, so that somewhat plugs the hole, but I still had to boost this week because of this news. Not ideal. Fine Fuiaki was in the Origin squad, but being named at 19 or 20 or whatever it is, he is free to play for the Dolphins. So a lot of people will be stoked to know that. I didn't trade him in because I was almost certain he would be on the field for the Maroons. The fact that he's not over some of the other guys picked in that team is a fucking joke, honestly. Yeah, some of the picks in these Origin teams are beyond my comprehension, but I'm sure you've heard pretty much every content creator go on about that. It's weird. Jeremy Marshall-King is an interesting one. I won't be going him because I've just traded Pasco in and he'll be just fine for me. I plan on holding Harry Grant. But again, the fact that he plays every single round except for round 13 is really good. And that is his spot, even with Plath and everything coming back. I don't think Plath's going to take over at 9 again once he's back. So my concern with Marshall-King is, though, it feels like he's barely put a couple of months of footy together in the last couple of years without getting injured, which sucks. And I've spent enough trades at hooker this year. I would hate to bring him in just to have to replace him down the track. Hopefully he can put together a few good games, though. For the Bulldogs, Kiraz returns on the wing after 4 games out with a knee injury, so Inari Chuala pushes to centre to cover for the Blues Origin rep Stephen Crichton. Winger Marcelo Montoya has been added to the interchange after 3 weeks on the outer, while back rower Josh Curran is listed among the reserves. I have absolutely no interest in any of the Bulldogs. Maybe there's an argument to be made that Kiraz could be an asset, but I want to see how he goes and how the Bulldogs go because they've just looked awful. The only other guy I could see making an argument for is Jacob Preston. The fact that he's not playing for the Blues is also a bit of a joke, and this could be said with any of these sort of Origin fringies. If the team they should have been picked for does end up losing, there's likely going to be changes. So I don't think it's unlikely at all that Jacob Preston plays in Game 2 or Game 3, so I would be avoiding trading him in regardless during this period, even though he has been playing really well in a pretty shitty Dogs team. But yeah, I'm not going to go into much more depth with the Dogs because they are playing like garbage. They are a good team to target, though. So for the Storm, with Munster, Harry Grant, Trent Liero somehow on Origin duty, Storm have called in Keegan Russell-Smith at 5'8", Trent Talau at hooker, and Cooper Clark at lock. Alec McDonald is back from a hamstring injury on the bench, while backup hooker Gabriel Satrick makes his NRL debut after 2 games in preseason challenge, blah, blah, blah. Moses Leo has been named on the wing despite coming off early at Magic Round with a knee injury. So, relevant guys for this one. Fa'alongo, genuine VC or captain option. I think coming up against the Bulldogs, he could score absolutely massive. Yes, there's a lot of stars out of this Melbourne side, and we've seen Melbourne be pretty shoddy lately. But Fa'alongo is just the type of guy who can pull a rabbit out of the hat at any point of the game. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes 150, which would be very needed in this round. None of the wingers or centers really interest me. Some people might still be hanging on to Moses Leo. I feel for you if you are. That's been a rough ride. Jerome Hughes is a fine replacement for Cleary or Sam Walker if you are planning on selling them. I originally was going to go with Jerome Hughes when I was planning months and months and months ago. And if we have a look at the Storm draw, they do have some pretty good cover to start with. So 12 and 13, they play both. And I do think that 12 and 13 are 2 of the hardest weeks to cover for. But he does miss round 15 and round 18, which is pretty tough. But similar argument to earlier, it's his spot. He's not going to lose it once all the players come back. He could be a good little pod even for the run home. So if you're thinking of bringing him in, I don't mind it at all. It gets interesting in the forwards. Adavalu Lasardi has been a must-have for ages now. He's a keeper. He's gone from cash cow to run home option. He is an absolute freak. If you haven't got him, I don't know what to tell you. He's probably pretty expensive now. If it was me, I probably would just buy him anyway. He's that good. Cooper Clark's an interesting one. Let me just quickly look up how much he is. 2 games in preseason challenge. 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 2 games in prese So he's 443k. It is a little bit of an awkward price. He is set to go up 48k, break even of -6. I'm a little hesitant on this one as well. The cash gen at this point doesn't really excite me too much. There's been so much cash gen this year. I would hope that people aren't making trades based on cash at the moment. I feel like availability is a lot more important, and he just isn't a run home option. He's far from having a grip on that jersey. So if he gets you out of a sticky position, sure, don't mind it. Don't know if I could recommend it though. He has looked really good when he's played. He's a big bopper, and he looks like he will eventually find a way into a starting role at Melbourne. Probably not this year though. Yeah, him, like many other players we're going to talk about, are very team dependent. Moving on to the Dragons and the Warriors. For the Dragons, with Moses Sully nursing a back injury, Jaden Sewer has been named in the centres in his return from a 3-game suspension. Tyrell Sloan has overcome a groin injury to be named on the bench. There's a surprising amount of relevance in the Dragons team yet to win a game. They are 2 losses off equaling the worst start to a NRL season ever. 0-13 is the worst start. And they're not far off it. And I don't think they're going to change that here because the Warriors look unreal. But yeah, relevant guys. Sedu too. A lot of people will still be hanging on to him. There isn't much to say here. You're not buying him. You're not selling him. If you've got him, well done. He'll be good cover for you. Valentine Holmes, on the other hand, is unbelievably cheap. He's like 460k. I know that Max still has him. I commend him for his patience because I definitely couldn't have done it. For me, Val is just one of these players where, yes, he has a good score in him now and then, not this year, but in years gone by. He's never been good for me, though, in SuperCoach, so I don't really have any kind of loyalty to him. But that being said, he is a cheap centre wing with gun pedigree that plays this round. So if he gets you out of a tough spot, I can't see him getting much cheaper than he is now. If he goes on a run, he could make couple 100k pretty easily. So there's been a lot of chat around Val Holmes being a trade-in, and for good reason. Honestly, if it helps you field a full team this week, and you can go from, say, like a Faymani to him or Makasini or something, you definitely don't want to be downgrading a gun or anything to him, but if you can fill a dud spot down in your center wing, then sure, go for it. The only other 2 I see worth touching on here are the Couchmans. I've been saying it pretty much all year. Both of these guys are weapons. You could buy either of them. Toby Couchman does have a little bit of an injury niggle at the moment. He was seen at an airport by a bunch of people at Magic Round in a knee or shoulder brace or something. He's probably fine because he's been named, but if you were to go one or the other, Ryan Couchman is just as good, if not better, and I think he is still cheaper. So if you haven't got him, definitely still a buy. For the Warriors, Tamari Martin takes over from injured halfback Tanner Boyd. That sucks. Just Tanner Boyd was setting the SuperCoach world alight earlier in the year. He was unreal for the Warriors. That one sucked to see. Jackson Ford and Jacob Laban come into the starting side with Mitch Barnett and Kirk Capewell on origin duty. Eddie Eremia Tova, hope I'm saying that right, Luke Hansen and Murata Niokore are the new faces on the 6-man bench, while Tuivasa-Sheck is listed among the reserves, set to return from a shoulder injury. I'm pretty sure in the team updates he has actually been named, so in a week where it's such slim pickings for center wings, he's definitely an option. Khan Pereira will be running at the weak side of the Dragons, so even after last week's diabolical score, you could go there. You really could. I definitely don't have the balls to do it, and I don't think many people will, so if you're after a mega pod, you could go there. The most relevant guy I'm looking at here, though, is Tamari Martin. The SuperCoach gods have handed us a solution at 5'8", and his name is Tamari Martin. Jonah Pezzett to Tamari Martin. Done, dusted, don't have to think about 5'8", until I'm ready to bring in Fletcher Sharp, and that's about it. Maybe Tamari Martin is my run-home guy. He will be the dominant half at the Warriors, and whoever has been in that position this year seems to be killing it. So maybe that's the last trade I need to make at 5'8", barring nothing out Cody Walker, because he can be a bit of an AE nightmare this year. So yeah, I'm all aboard the Tamari Martin train. I don't think there's many teams that wouldn't benefit from getting him in. Jackson Ford starting is absolutely huge. Another guy that just should have been picked for Origin. And I think it is quite likely, again, that he plays either game 2 or game 3. So proceed with caution there. You could trade him in because he will be a run home option. Him coming off the bench with Mitch Barnett back in the side after the Origin period just doesn't bother me. He's good enough. And last week he was this close to scoring a try. They ended up taking it off him. But yeah, his off the bench scores, I'm not too worried about it. Aaron Clark looked like an absolute monster last week. He's another guy. He did have a little bit of a down period there, so maybe he's not too expensive. Let's have a look. Aaron Clark, 2RF only, break even at 56. He is 680k. That's a little bit awkward, but if you wanted a Warriors forward because they also have quite good cover and you don't have 840k to get Jackson Ford in, don't mind the Aaron Clark shout at all. Wade Egan could be a sneaky little option at hooker if you don't like Pasco for whatever reason. How could you not like Pasco? He's a weapon. But say the buy rounds have decided that you need a warrior to be able to sort out your availability. I don't mind Wade Egan, especially coming up against the Dragons, but also just coming up against some weaker opposition with all their guns out. That's all I'm really interested in there. Let's go over to Manly and the Titans. For the Seagulls, Josh Felaherty and Blake Wilson joined the backline with Tolu Kola on Origin duty and Lehigh Hopewadi suspended. Jackson Shereb starts in the back row in place of Hodmoli Olakawatu, while Brandon Wakeham is back at hooker having served a 1-game suspension. Forwards Hugo Hart and Simone Leafi. I need to learn how to say this guy's name properly. I'm pretty sure it's Leafi. Are the new faces on the 6-man bench with Hart in line for an NRL debut. Manly are another team that have really, really nice Origin cover. They only miss round 15, and round 15 is one of the easier rounds to cover. The only teams missing are Manly, Dragons, Tigers, Storm, Cowboys, Bulldogs, and Panthers. So a few pretty relevant teams in there, but when you've got the Roosters, Sharks, Tigers, Warriors, Dolphins, Para, Gold Coast, Broncos, Canberra, and Souths all playing, most of our team is filled up with players from those teams. So 15, I'm not worried about. The question is, though, who do we actually go for here? I brought in Kola last week, never expecting him to get picked, particularly on the wing. But as Laurie says, he's really good under the high ball, which is fucking... Does he watch footy? I don't even know. Yeah, who would we go for here? I feel like the main guy would be Ruben Garrick. He's been doing well with the converting. Fogarty could easily take the tee back this week. But despite that, Garrick is going to be our main strike weapon in the outside backs. He's going to need a lift for us because we are looking quite thin here, particularly with Hopewadi suspended because a ref got in the way. So again, another centre option there, which are slim pickings this week. I really don't mind the Jamal Fogarty shout. Let's have a look at his scores recently. So he has gone 58, 113, 88, 77, 76, and then the first games of the season we ignore for Manly because we were coached by Seabold. So he's got an average there of what? 80, 90, maybe 80. We'll call it 80, which is fine. And given how many of our guns are out, he's going to need a lift, so I don't mind it at all. I really don't. I like to think that's not just my Manly bias shining through, but he only misses round 15 all the way up until round 20. He could be the guy. A lot of people will still be hanging on to Paseka, and he just keeps scoring tries right as he peaks in price and just keeps rising. He's been really good this year. Probably not a buy at the moment. Brandon Wakeham, I know that Mac bought in a couple of weeks ago. He's very, very cheap and could just be a handy number in at 5'8", but I don't like him over Tamari Martin as an option, so probably just go there. Ethan Bullimore. Over the next little while, he could be quite an option if he's not too expensive. Just under 400k, likely going to have an increased output. Maybe not. We do have Liafi on the bench as well, so maybe he does stick around that sort of 30, 40-minute role. But he does have a pretty consistent 1-ish PPM. So if he does get an increased minute role and we notice that this week, he could be an option and even generate you a little bit of money in that slot. Not that we're really looking at that. 400k is a bit of a weird price point. He's starting rather than coming off the bench. I can't confidently recommend him, but that's a bit of a watch this space. Liaf could get a pretty decent run. I don't think he has changed in price yet this year. I think he's only played 1, maybe 2 games. He wouldn't have to do much to make a bit of money and be worth the trade in, but he's very likely going to become enough after the Origin period. Maybe that's what you're after. You want someone to get you through the Origin period and then just not be named at all and not become an AE nightmare for you. Don't hate it. If that is what you're after, then sure, go him, because he looks like an absolute monster when he's on the field. Over at the Titans, Cleese Haas comes into the starting side at prop, and Jalen de Groot is the new centre with Tino and Jojo in Queensland camp. Chris Randall is listed among the reserves. Should he fail to come up, he will be replaced by back rower Arama Ho. Not a whole lot I like at the Titans, other than Pascoe. He's been a revelation for them, and I'm sure he'll do just fine as Origin cover. Given that the Titans only miss 13 and 18, which isn't ideal, but as long as I can get past that 13 where I'm not going to have a hooker, that's scary, and 18 I'm not too worried about, yeah, he'll do a job for me. I'm still hanging on to Cooper Bye as well. A few people might be as well. Aramaho was heavily sold when he started to regularly shit the bed. Definitely not a buy. Even Keanu Keeney, I just don't really rate. He hasn't been the revelation that we thought he was going to be this year. Really, the only person I can recommend actually buying here would be Ollie Pascoe, maybe a Jaden Campbell. The rest of them are just, if you've got them, nice. They'll cover some games for you, but I wouldn't be buying anyone else outside of those two. Jaden Campbell probably isn't on the list for me as well. Just the Titans haven't looked good. On to the Cowboys and the Rabbitohs. For the Cowboys, Taumalolo comes into the starting side with Ruben Cotter at Maroons camp. Robert Derby comes in on the wing for his first NRL game of 2026 in place of Braden Burns, who did a hammy. Last week's debutants of Liam Sutton and Xavier Kerrisk retain their spots, while Vilami Vailea and Kai O'Donnell are the new faces on the interchange. O'Donnell returns after missing a week through ankle injury. Easily the most relevant guy I want to talk about here for the Cowboys is Scott Drinkwater. By the way, this table will be in the description if you want to use it. So I have boosted Drinky in to get myself the numbers. Where are the Cowboys? Here. So they missed 15 and 18, which isn't ideal, but again, I'm not too worried about those rounds. It really does come down to 12 and 13 for me at least. And I quite like the Cowboys draw. Souths without their Origin guys. Canberra, Dolphins, New Zealand, Penrith's a bit tough, but they always are, and Manly in round 19. I think Drinky is a very nice trade-in, genuine captain option in some of those tougher weeks. And the Cowboys aren't that affected by Origin this year, so can't argue against him. A lot of people will still be hanging on to Purdue. That's fine, can't argue with it. Tom Chester, the guy that I just haven't managed to get into my team this year, and it's hurt me. He'll be good for people this week too. Reed Marnie, Heelam Lukey, yeah. I'm going to say a lot of what I've said for the previous teams. Your guys like Heelam Lukey, Purdue, not as much Chester, maybe Jake Clifford. I wouldn't go trading them in, because if Queensland lose or whatever, they might get called in for the coming weeks. But if you've got them, they'll do a job for you. Drinkwater, however, no chance of him coming in. He's a New South Welshman, and he's not going to get in before Teddy or Edwards, provided there's not some like crazy injuries or whatever. It's probably all we need to talk about for the Cowboys. For the Rabbitohs, Jai Gray has come out and medically retired. He has a motor neuron disease, I think it is. Yeah, I looked it up. There's no cure. It's, that's really fucked up. So, best of luck for him and his future. That's, you don't like to hear that. For changes for the Rabbitohs, Alex Johnston is back from a knee injury, while Latrell Mitchell and Campbell Graham are sidelined due to injury. Tallis Duncan moves to the centres alongside Latrell Siegwald, and Talanoa Penatani comes in on the wing for his NRL debut. Marmazelis owns a recall to hooker after 2 games in New South Wales Cup. Adam Elliott starts in the back row with Cameron Murray on origin duty. Jamie Humphries has been named to return from a knee injury on the bench alongside Liam LeBlanc and Thomas Fletcher, while Ed Cossey drops to the interchange after starting last week. Straight away, I'm a little bit rattled that Tallis Duncan's been named at centre. His scores have been nowhere near as good there, but all it takes is some attacking stats and he's back scoring what he should. But coming up against a fairly untouched Cowboys team while they are decimated by injury and origin guys, don't feel good about that. Alex Johnston maybe could have been a little bit of a pod option, but again, I don't think now's the time to be going for rocks or diamonds guys from the Rabbitohs. Pretty much all of these guys, I'd want to see how the Rabbitohs go before bringing them in. So yeah, they miss 13 and 16, 2 of the more difficult weeks where you do need to field a full team. So I don't love it. Keon Koloamatangi, potential origin game 2 or 3 call-ups as well. I think the Rabbitohs are a team we can steer clear of for a little while. There's no one here I would look at buying. Some people might be tempted by Siegwald. I don't feel it. Duncan in the centres, probably can't recommend buying him anymore. I've got him. He's not going to go anywhere. Who knows how long it'll be before he's back at second row forward, but that's fine. I'm happy to hang on to him. And yeah, I'm not too keen on anyone else there. So that's the rather thin set of games this week. I'll quickly show you my trades and my team. So I am selling Cheese, Sam Walker, Jonah Pezzett, and James Tedesco, and bringing in Ollie Pascoe, Tamari Martin, Scott Drinkwater, and Joseph Tarpany. I absolutely hate that I'm using this many trades this week, but I needed to field a full team. I really don't like playing 12 out of 13 on these major buys. I've been saying for ages, this is my chance to catch up. So yeah, needs to be done. This leaves me with 19 trades. I am hoping for the remainder of the buy period, I don't have to go too crazy and just 1-2 trades here and there. Hopefully save some. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be thin on the trade front for the run home. Hence why I'm keeping Grant, keeping Cleary. I'll probably even keep Kohler. He might have to get flipped out. But yeah, it's not looking too good considering how much fucking planning I've done. But this week, I've got Pascoe, captaincy on Jackson Ford. I just think that's nice and safe. I'm not really in a risk-taking mood when I've only got 13 players scoring. Paseka, Tallis Duncan, Lasardi, Ryan Couchman, Cooper Bye, no halfbacks, Cody Walker, Tamari Martin, Jermaine Asako, no Herbie Farmworth, hence why I had to boost. I have 1 centre wing this week. Fuck. Oh, God. Farlongo, Drinky, and Tarpany with the VC on Farlongo. So, yeah, pretty brutal start to the Origin period, but I'm still confident that I can come through it okay. Maybe if I wasn't planning so heavily, I'd be absolutely fucked this week and I'd be running out with 10 or 11 players. But, yeah, I think that'll do it. If you've got any trade questions or whatever, leave them down below. I'll do my best to help you out and get to everyone. Don't forget to leave your bets down there as well. And we'll see you for the review on Monday. Catch you later.